Welcome to this, our regular community team, Ubuntu community team Q&A with myself, Alan Pope, and I'm joined this week by Daniel Holbach. Hello, Daniel.
Hello, hello.
Hello. Oh, we haven't set our lower thirds. That's very remiss. You can set yours while I'm talking, and then I'll set mine while you talk. So we do this every week. If you go to ubuntuonair.com, then you'll find the video at the top, and down the bottom there's a little chat box. And in there, you'll connect to an IRC channel. If you've got a proper IRC client, you can join it that way as well. It's hash Ubuntu-on-air on the Freenode network. So just join that IRC channel and you can chat to us while we do this and ask us questions. We generally get to the questions after we've had a bit of a chat about what's been going on the last couple of weeks. And then we'll just answer your questions. If they're kind of off topic or things we can't really answer, then we might tell you where to go in terms of where to get a better answer, or we might try and get someone on a later one of these Q&As who could probably answer the question better. Sometimes we'll go off on IRC and ping random people and find the answer for you and come back to it a bit later on. So if you stick around, you might actually find if your question isn't answered fully, it will be answered later. All the videos are archived on YouTube, on the Ubuntu On Air channel on YouTube. So just go to the YouTube channel, Ubuntu On Air, click the subscribe button, and then you'll get notified when there's a new one of these. It's not just us doing a Q&A. There's also the Juju guys do Juju office hours, and there's other kinds of sessions that we do randomly as well. If there's any feedback for us, if there's anything additional you'd like us to do, any particular people you'd like us to talk to, or any subjects you'd like us to talk about, then the best thing to do is join us in the either tell us in IRC or join us in our IRC channel, Ubuntu Community Team, hash Ubuntu Community Team on Freenode, or the mailing list. There's Ubuntu Community Team mailing list on lists.ubuntu.com, or ping us on IRC. I'm Popey and he's D Holbach on IRC. We're pretty easy to find. We're kind of all over the place,
and we're very open to any kind of feedback, crazy ideas, or questions. As Popey said, just ask.
Yep, absolutely.
And when you do, just make sure you prefix them with question in capital letters so we can more easily pick them up. You can also we also have an Ubuntu On Air account on Twitter, on Google Plus, and elsewhere. You might want to circle, friend, and follow them as you see fit. That way you're going to be informed of upcoming shows. Right.
I'm just busy setting my lower third while you were talking. You clearly weren't talking for long enough, or I'm too slow.
Take your time. Take your time. I can maybe already start talking about a few things which are happening in Snappy land, because that's what I'm currently looking at a lot. We're very close to having the next Snapcraft release out of the door, and I just tested it earlier, and all the small bugs, all the hard to read error messages, all that stuff is gone. It's just beautiful now, and it also comes with a bunch of new plugins, which is going to, for example, there's going to be a Node.js plugin, a null plugin, which does nothing, which is very, very useful. Lots of other stuff. So we're very close to announcing it, and there's going to be a Snappy Clinic soon. Snappy Clinics are also one of the users of Ubuntu On Air. So all the Snappy Clinic sessions also go to that account. And it's basically where we introduce people to Snappy and Snapcraft, where we just talk about what's new, do demos, invite people to talk about their use of Snappy and Snapcraft, and where you can basically bring all the questions and problems you have. It's that kind of event. So probably later this week or maybe next week we're going to let you know on the Snappy mailing list. There's also lots and lots of work going on in Snappy itself. So up until now, the 15.04 was the stable release for Snappy because it was the first one, and where we guaranteed that it's going to be stable, and it is stable, and also backporting new features to that milestone. But right now, everyone is looking at making 16.04 the LTS because it's going to be supported for 5 years anyway. We put a lot of effort into making it just really great, and there might be some there's going to be some changes which are going to be backwards incompatible. But my gut feeling is that 16.04 is what everyone is going to base their work on, so it's already worth looking at it and see what's happening there. But there's going to be more.
Are there already images being created for 16.04 Snappy?
Yes.
Oh, there are Xenial images you could put on, like, a device or
KVM or absolutely. Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. Yeah. If you go to developer.ubuntu.com/snappy/start, you get a long list of all the ways how you can use Snappy. And mixed images are there.
Cool. In the last couple of weeks, I've some small update from myself. We recently pushed out OTA 8 to the phones. So if you're running Ubuntu stable channel on one of the retail devices, the BQE 4.5 or E5 or the Meizu MX4, or if you're running on the Nexus 4 or the Nexus 7, then you should have got an update in the last week or so. Well, actually, within a 24-hour period sometime last week. Or if your phone happens to be sat in a drawer for 6 months and you took it out and turned it on, you'll get an update. So part of the update was a change to some of the toolkit. So if you sat two phones side by side, you might not notice it immediately, but if you sat two phones side by side and one's on OTA 7 and one's on OTA 8, you'll probably notice the difference. Some of the user interface looks a little bit different, and that's used across a lot of the apps. And one of the things we've been doing in core apps is updating a lot of the apps so they use the new toolkit. One of those was the music app, which I uploaded to the store a couple of hours ago. So if you're running a Ubuntu phone, you should have an update today for the music app. It fixes a bunch of bugs and updates the user interface. We've got a whole bunch of other stuff lined up, but that was a relatively minor update. A bunch of other apps are being updated and will come to the store soon. So clock, calculator, weather, calendar, and so on. We'll update all of those as well. And also we're tantalizingly close to putting an update to the dock viewer in the store, which has LibreOffice support built in. We've been testing that. Yeah, it's really, really cool. I can't wait to put that in the store. We're trying to be very methodical and very careful about putting it in because we don't want to put a substandard experience on the phone for users. But it works surprisingly well on a mid-range phone like the BQE 4.5, opening small to medium-sized documents, which is what you kind of expect on a phone. Nobody's going to be opening 1,000-page Excel spreadsheet documents, open office style files. You could try, but we'll almost certainly run out of memory. So I'm trying to set the expectations there. But an update to that should come within the next week or so. What else? Google Coding kicks off on December the 7th, and we're involved in Google Coding. If you go to coding.withgoogle.com or just search for Google Coding on your favorite search engine, you'll find all the blurb about what Google Coding is. It's a great opportunity for people of school age, say 13 to 17, to get involved in open source. We're one of the mentoring organizations. We have a load of tasks that we've written up for people to do, ways in which they can get involved. It's not just coding. So if you're a good pensmith, then maybe you could do a bit of documentation, or if you're good at doing testing, methodical testing, then there's some QA tasks in there as well. So we've got a real spread across a number of categories, but coding, QA, documentation, and a bunch of others as well. But that launches in a week or two, and we'll have a load of things for people to do. If you're a member of the Ubuntu community, we welcome more mentors. It'd be great if we had a few more mentors people who've been around in the Ubuntu community and can help these new contributors to get started. That would be really, really helpful. Just ping myself or Balloons on IRC or Jose on IRC. We're in hash Ubuntu community team all the time. And I think you can probably find our email addresses somehow.
I have a question. For those of us watching who are involved in the Ubuntu project already and who might have some tasks up their sleeve, like how big are these tasks supposed to be? How does it generally work? Do we just write this up somewhere and send it to you, or?
For all of those questions, so think of a task as being, something that could be done in a few hours, maybe. So these are not Google Summer of Code style weeks and weeks and weeks of development. These are, fairly small, atomic. You can think of them almost like bite-sized tasks or paper cut type things, which, someone with a bit of skills could probably do. If it's their very first task, it might take them half a day. Once they've done a few of them, they might get a bit faster and they might do, 3 or 4 in a day, or you might just get through 1 or 2 in a day. It really depends how much time you've got to dedicate to it. And if you are a member of the community and you've got tasks that you think would be suitable, that fit that kind of criteria, put your head as a 13-year-old new person to open source, what kind of task would be appropriate, what kind of time scale would be appropriate, then write it up. There are some examples on the site, so you can see the kind of format and the style and how much detail needs to go in there. And if you've got a bunch of them, write them up, send them to myself or Balloons or Jose, and we'll include them in the list, and then we'll track them over the period of the Google coding. So yes, we are keen for members of the community from all areas of the Ubuntu community to identify what you might consider paper cuts or bite-sized bugs that we can get new people involved with.
Cool. Yeah, thanks a lot for organizing it.
It was mostly Nick Skaggs, to be honest, so I'll pass your thanks on.
Brilliant.
What's next?
We also wanted to talk about UCON Summit. That's going to be co-hosted with Scale 14X.
Which is Southern California Linux Expo in
Pasadena,
America, somewhere.
Yes, California, close to LA.
That's it.
And it's going to be beginning of next year. So I think around the 19th?
Yeah, I think it's 21st to the 24th is Scale. And we're probably going to be there from about the 20th onwards, I think.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, and big parts of it are going to be like an unconference. We're going to have lots of discussions there. So if you're in the area or if you're at Scale anyway, consider dropping by, bring up your questions, ideas, stuff you want discussed, and meet all the Ubuntu folks.
Yeah, I looked at the travel plan, and it seems like a whole load of us are going out there. So there's going to be a lot of people spread around the company. So it's not just people from the community team, myself, Daniel, Mike, and David, but also there are people from the Snappy side, there are people from the design team, desktop team, and I do believe Mark Shuttleworth and Jane Silber, our CEO, are going to be there as well. So cool.
Very good.
Yeah, looking forward to that. Okay, have we got some questions to crack on with? Now we've been waffling for a few minutes.
That's all right. The first one was from Dragos. How to get a free Ubuntu phone? I'm a developer with big plans, but I need an Ubuntu phone. Yeah.
So this is tricky. So there's a few things. One is for certain types of applications, you don't need a phone. For applications maybe written in QML or even in C++, you can actually develop directly on the desktop using our SDK and test them out on the desktop. I appreciate sometimes you want to test them on the phone. Maybe, things like the sensors, you need to be able to, test that the phone works, or GPS, or, other, form factor specific things. In which case, it can be tricky. Sometimes you can find someone else in the community who has a phone who can test stuff for you. So once you get your app or your game or whatever it is to a certain level of functionality, you could, send them a click package and ask them to help test it. In fact, I spent some time yesterday and today doing exactly that for other people. I'm not suggesting everyone should send me click packages and I'll test them for everyone. But it is possible to find someone else with a phone who, can help you out in that regard. In terms of getting one for free, I don't know, ask around. Some people buy phones and then don't actually end up using them, or, decide that it's not for them, or, for whatever reason, decide they don't want to use it anymore. And sometimes people will give those away. I got given a Firefox phone somewhere here because for exactly that reason. So, ask around. And then the other thing is, on the BQ website, there's a E4.5 outlet where they sell, I think they're reconditioned devices. So these are devices that have gone out to customers, and the customers sent them back for whatever reason. Maybe they just don't like it or don't want it. And they're cleaned up, put in a new box, and then resold at a lower price. And I think it's 130 euros that they go for. But if you, I'll get the link because I was looking at it earlier on today.
And then there's also, I remember somebody did basically like a Kickstarter thing. They said, I'm working on this project, and if you back me, I can buy a device and make sure that it works all right there. So if you have a really good idea, why not try it?
Mm-hmm. Yep, absolutely.
So yeah, I think there's a number of ways how you can achieve this. As we in Canonical, we don't drive the sales of the phone. We don't produce them, so we don't have a free phone for developers program or something like that. We just don't. We just do the free software.
Okay. Next question.
Yep. A question from the best. Will all the legacy programs like GIMP, LibreOffice, Firefox be available for ARM-based converged devices? I assume first only the open source programs will be recompiled for ARM-based devices. The good thing is the stuff you mentioned, like GIMP, LibreOffice, Firefox, that's all open source stuff in the archive. And as soon as we offered an ARM port, basically all of these packages were already built for ARM. So everything that you can get from the Ubuntu archive is going to be there anyway.
Right. So there's two questions there, really. There's the, are there ARM-based builds for those pieces of software? And the answer is, yeah, there are. But then the second part, I guess, that wasn't asked, but you could kind of infer from that is, will they run on the converged devices? And for the ones you've listed, the answer is, yeah, they will. We're using, for those applications that require X, so they don't run natively under Mir, then we have a compatibility layer, if you like, called XMir. And XMir allows you to run X-based applications on top of Mir. So I'm just booting up a tablet to show you exactly that. So I've got a Nexus 7 here, and I don't know if you'll be able to see this, but you could probably see there's some familiar icons there for Firefox and GIMP and LibreOffice and gedit, conveniently the ones you asked for. It's almost like I set that up. So we're working on getting those apps, like the headline, ones that everyone knows about, working on the converged devices. Takes a little bit of work, but once we've got the framework in place, other apps will be able to follow after that. So I think that answers the question.
Yep.
Next question is from Neurot or NeuroT, I don't know. When are we going to see Unity 8? Well, if I was being facetious, I would say you could see it by buying an Ubuntu phone, because like there it is. That's Unity 8. But again, I would guess there's another inferred question in there, which is when are we going to see it on the desktop? And the answer that we've had from, well, you can. It is possible to install Unity 8 on the desktop. It's not finished yet, so it's not as as good an experience as Unity 7 is right now. And I don't know when it will be the default, but it certainly will. There will be a shipping image that you could install for 1604. So there'll be an image. It won't necessarily be the default. It won't. When you upgrade to 1604, your Unity 7 won't get replaced with Unity 8, but there will be a way for you to run Unity 8 in 1604.
Right. Next question is from the best. Any news on how the scopes will work and look on the Unity 8 desktop? I'm not sure what the design team has been thinking of, or what they are going to try to do with desktop mode and scopes.
Yeah, I don't know the answer because the design team is still working on that. Well, I'm not sure they are still working on it. I think they may well have already worked that out, but it just hasn't been implemented yet. And so I would say wait and see, or maybe we should ask a designer to give us an answer on that. You may have seen some prototypes or mock-ups or screenshots, I don't know, shared recently. I think I've seen some floating around of what the Alt-Tab switcher looks like on the desktop, and I think the scopes will be integrated with that somehow. I don't know exactly because I haven't seen the designs, but I know it's being worked on.
Nice. Yeah, and one great thing about scopes is you might have seen the announcement recently. You can write them now with JavaScript, which is beautiful. So no more, like if you know about JavaScript and know where to get your data from, know how to get it presented and so on, it's certainly going to be much easier than messing around with C++. No more recompilation, no more shipping of multiple architectures. So should be good.
Yep. Look forward to that. Look forward to seeing what people come up with, because it seems like it could be really good for rapid prototyping and rapid development of scopes in JavaScript. Especially as there's a lot of people who know JavaScript on the planet. Next question is aimed at you, Daniel. T Simon Q2 says, if you'd like to help out with Snappy development, where do you go?
A bunch of places. So all of the Snappy team is hanging out in the #Snappy channel on Freenode. You can find the source for Snappy itself and Snapcraft on GitHub. And lots of people are already contributing to Snappy and Snapcraft. Snappy itself is written in Go, so if you know about Go, that's going to make things easier for you. But there's also like the test suite and stuff which are written in Python. Snapcraft is completely written in Python, and it's a beautiful project. Everyone responds quickly. Just very nice. It really is.
Yeah, Snapcraft is an interesting project. For those people who don't know, give the tweet-sized description of what Snapcraft is.
Basically, what you did with packaging, basically the task of taking a piece of software and turning it into a package people can install, that was complicated. I always try to tell people that it's easy, but it was complicated and still is, for maybe even good reasons sometimes. But Snapcraft makes it super, super easy. It's very easy to pull in source code, to pull in binaries you have in the Ubuntu archive, just from lots of parts on the net, you can grab the source and basically bundle it all up so it becomes like something more integrated. It's not like a small package, but you make sure that the app, everything it needs, that everything is in there included, and that it all works. And in Snapcraft, you just write one YAML file, and that's it. You basically just list what needs to go where, and it just works.
Awesome. Slightly longer than tweet size, but
yeah, it was probably like 15 or 20 tweets, but
okay. Next question from Mario Grip. He says, "Is there any plans for a preview?" Sorry, it's just scrolled off the screen as I was reading it. Are there any plans for a preview version of Snappy on Ubuntu Touch anytime soon? So the meaning of this question is that at the moment, the desktop is based around package management is based around Debian packages. So, if you want to install Skype on the desktop, you go and get skype.deb and you install it. If you wanted to install, some game on your Ubuntu phone, they're click packages. And Snappy packages are the next evolution on from click. And at the moment, all the phone images are based around click packages and not Snappy packages. I think the target to move to Snappy is probably not going to be until 1604. So sometime April, that kind of area, maybe even later than that. I don't know. But I don't think there are any preview images yet. I'm pretty certain there are no preview images. Let me be more bold. There are no preview images of Snappy for Ubuntu Touch right now. And I don't think there will be until like some way into next year, just because it's a lot of work. And I think we want to make sure that the Snappy base, the 1604 Snappy base, is completely rock solid before we start moving phones across to it.
Yeah. But yeah, if you have a very deep interest in this question, you can ask Aleku, because he and somebody else, I can't remember who it was, but they spend a long time looking at the problem, and they have a good plan.
Yep.
Alex,
yes, you got it.
Alex Page says, "Hello from Corfu, Greece."
Hello, Greece.
Hello. Was it Kalispera? Wasn't good. Good evening, or something else. Well,
you already know more Greek than I do.
Is AppGrid going to replace Ubuntu Software Center in 1604 LTS release?
That's a good question. I think the short answer is no.
Yes.
And that's for two reasons. I think the selection has been made to use GNOME software. Am I wrong? Is that right?
I think so.
Yeah. I think Will sent a mail to the desktop team list or devel list recently saying that 1604 would ship without Ubuntu Software Center for numerous reasons that we've gone over lots and lots of times, and many of which you probably already know. And AppGrid is a really popular tool, and you could probably install that on 1604 and you'd be fine. But I don't think that we're going to consider putting that, given that we've already looked at all the options and GNOME software seems to be the one that's been selected by the desktop team.
Wasn't AppGrid also closed source?
Well, it's written in Python, and it's in a PPA on Launchpad, so you certainly can look at the source. But I'm sure, but the answer is that a decision has already been made anyway.
Okay, yeah.
Next question from T Simon Q2. Simon, is that a silent T, do we think? Simon Q2. Anyway, he says, do you have an Ubuntu phone? And if so, where did you get one? Yeah, I do. There it is. And it's BQ E 4.5. And I bought it the day they came out. I went to BQ's website and ordered one. And then when it arrived in the post, I skipped around the house like an idiot, delighted that, a device was now in my hands that we had helped create. Yes.
Yeah, same goes for my
That's where I got mine.
MX4. Basically, same as Poppy's.
I have an MX4 as well, but I sat on it and broke it. So I don't have an MX4 anymore.
Yeah,
I've also got there's a Nexus 4 around here somewhere. Oh, there it is. There's a Nexus 4 around here somewhere as well. That's actually another good point is, if you want a good way to get started on Ubuntu, you can pick up a second-hand Nexus 4 on like your favorite shopping website, eBay or whatever, and flash Ubuntu onto that. And actually, the Nexus 4 is a good choice to use because you pair that with one of these Bluetooth keyboard, sit your little phone in there, and you can plug it into a display and test out all the funky convergence stuff that we keep talking about. All you need is a slim port adapter, HDMI cable, plug it into a display that's got an HDMI port, of course, and away you go. You can start. Also, you might need a Bluetooth mouse as well. You pair those, and Nexus 4 is a good choice.
Brilliant.
Next question is from Chloe Wolfie Girl. GNOME Store is replacing the Ubuntu Software Center. This follows on from the previous question. In Unity 7, how will this affect Click packages, Unity 8, and other things?
I'm not sure how GNOME Store or GNOME Apps is going to tie in with Unity 8. I'm not quite sure about that.
I don't think there's any plan to put GNOME software on the Unity 8 based images. It's only on the Unity 7 Debian based images. However, I think Will mentioned the possibility that they might add the ability to GNOME software to enable it to install Snappy packages. I think they're looking at that. So it could be possible that you could install Snappy packages. I don't think they'll add Click package support because I think really we consider Click as I'd like to say deprecated, but it isn't yet because there's phones out there that have still got it installed. But we're working on the next generation after Click, so I don't think the desktop will have anything Click related. It will all be Snappy in the future.
So Click has a shorter future.
Yes, that's probably a more tactful way of saying it. Thank you, Daniel.
So yeah, as far as I understand it, GNOME Apps has a plugin mechanism which we need to work on anyway. So to teach it about the Ubuntu archive and how to install debs, basically the same work is going to be done for Snappy.
And the conversation carried on in the Ubuntu on air IRC channel right now after Chloe Wolfie Girl asked the question, Mike Hall's there, and they're having a discussion. It's a good idea if you're watching this video on YouTube, join the IRC channel, Ubuntu on air, and get more comprehensive answers from other people than you do from us. Okay, next question. The next question is from, is it Cool Cat? Is that the next one?
The best asked, how are you?
I missed that.
Yeah, so thanks a lot. Very well.
Yeah, doing pretty well. Thank you. Then we have, there we go. I found it now. Another question from Chloe Wolfie Girl. What features and updates are you excited for in OTA 9? Ooh. Okay, I'll give you 3.
Wow.
Improvements to, I know this is all hand wavy, but improvements to the convergence stuff. So right now, the image that's on the Nexus 4 that lets you plug it into a display and a keyboard and a mouse is pretty preliminary. And while it works, you can break it. Like, you know, if you unplug the phone and plug it back in again and you go a bit crazy with the phone, you can make it crash, right? So there's a bunch of stability stuff that's going to happen that's going to make that better. There's a bug in the camera app, which I'm hoping gets fixed for OTA 9. On the MX4, it has a 20 megapixel camera, but there's a bug which means it takes photos at slightly lower resolution than that. And I've seen that Florian is working on that, and I've seen that he's been testing a fix for that this week. So I look forward to that. So all the MX4 users can actually use the camera at the full resolution that it's designed for. And the third one is, I would say, adding more apps by default to the device. Like maybe an email client by default, maybe.
Yeah, so one bug being fixed today, which was about being able to set your own, was it like a custom ringtone? I think that's pretty great as well.
Yes, I like that. See, that's one of the problems is, like, you know, when you're making a minimum viable product, being able to, you know, have a ringtone and have a phone that rings, like, is like super important. You know, being able to change the ringtone is a nice to have, and that comes further down the line. Actually, you know, it making phone calls. I'm pretty sure the first person who received a phone call on an Ubuntu phone was Jane Silber from like one of the conference rooms. They phoned her on an Ubuntu phone when they got the phone working. Phoned her in her office and was like, "Hey, we're phoning you from an Ubuntu phone." Yay! That kind of stuff, really important. Yeah, ringtones slightly less, lower down the priority list, but still, you know, nonetheless, super important. So yeah, good to see that kind of thing. And one of the problems of us, you know, when we all get together and we've all got our Ubuntu phones, if one of them rings, like everyone picks their phone up because they've all got the same ringtone, and you never know whose phone it is. It's a bit like the old Nokia, you know, that thing. You know, everyone had that ringtone back in the day. It's very much like that in a canonical office. Anyway, Cool Cat asks, the current Unity 8 theme looks weird. That's very tactful. When will we have a new theme, and how will it look like? Will it be like Ambience? So I always get these around the way. Ambience is the dark one, isn't it? And Radiance is the light theme, I think.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. I never know which way around they are. I just set it and forget it. Short answer, I don't know.
Yeah, same here.
Rat asks, is there any chance we can expect a convertible OS in Ubuntu phones?
Yes.
You can expect that, yes. Yes, expect that.
Yeah. Cool Cat asked, related to the previous question, how hard is it to make my own theme? Do I have to know C#? So you can read out C# already, because there's nothing written in C# for the phone. For writing your own theme, I don't know how far along we are. I saw some blog posts about themeability of apps. So if you want your theme to have like its own special look, it's very easy to do that. Just have a look at developer Ubuntu.com, but creating your own theme for the entire device, I'm not so sure about. Also, like if you have your own written your own scope, it's also easy to customize the look of that. But yeah, for proper full theme, I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's like the ringtones thing. You know, minimum viable product, get a phone that has a theme. Later, add support for multiple themes, and I think we're at the stage where we're almost got a like decent theme, but I think some of that is really hardwired. I think there's the ability to have multiple different themes in the shell and switch everything, you know, from one theme to another. I think that's just not done yet. Next question is from, well, actually, so following on from that, I would say go to #Ubuntu Unity, because that's where the Unity of developers hang out. People like Savick and Michael Zanetti, those are the kind of people. Ping them if you really want to get involved in this. There's some outstanding work that we could have done. They would know. They'd be the right person to go to. So Ubuntu Unity, and ask them about theming. Okay, Ridgewing asks, what are the ethical questions that need to be answered about Ubuntu members asking for crowdfunding to go to the February UBUCON in California? Well, first one is, if you go in February, you'll miss it because it's in January. So make sure you get the right date. I don't know. It's tricky in community stuff. Whenever money gets involved, it starts getting difficult. There are people who don't like one person being given money and someone else not being given money, and why are you spending money on this thing? I think you should spend money on this other thing. Whereas when money isn't involved and it's just about the code, it's like you get on and code. So yeah, there can be like awkward conversations about money, but I don't think it's unethical for community members to say, I'd really like to go to this thing, but I can't afford it, or I'm a student, or for whatever reason, the money isn't there to be able to go, to try and find ways and means to fund that. And I don't think crowdfunding is an outrageous way of doing it. I've seen other people crowdfund their way to events in the past. So yeah, I don't have a problem with it myself.
Yeah, same here.
Chloe Wolfie Girl again asks, talking about themes, any updates on customizable things such as different keyboards, cursors, and icons? I think that's all kind of related. Yeah. Although keyboard specifically is a little bit different, and I think there's some work ongoing for making custom keyboards. So, for example, in the terminal, you might want a keyboard that has lots of extra characters and an easy to find hash key and an easy to find tilde and stuff like that you need in a terminal. I think there's work ongoing there. Mike Sheldon has been working on that, but I don't think that's ready yet. But I know work is ongoing there. Craps Police. That's a great nick. I love the nicknames people come up with on IRC. Craps Police says, can we expect a Facebook scope like the I assume Twitter one we got with OTA 8? That's a good question. I don't know, actually.
Yeah, same here. Maybe you can
we did have one in the past, didn't we?
I don't remember. For Telegram, we do.
Got one. Oh, there's a Facebook photo scope. That's the one.
Ah, okay. I mean,
you sign into Facebook, and then you can scroll through and see all the photos on your Facebook stream, I guess. Just testing that while you read the next question.
Yeah, I mean, you can also ask on the Ubuntu Touch IRC channel. Maybe somebody there knows the answer to that. Okay, and then
sorry, I probably wouldn't be hard to repurpose the Facebook scope, photos scope, to just be like your stream, your news stream, because all this is doing is just showing photos. If it showed like updates, that might be just as interesting. I don't know, and would mean you don't necessarily need a Facebook app. Sorry, carry on.
Yeah, interesting question from Core Apps Police. The Unity 8 desktop will receive monthly updates like the phones, or just like the current method? It's something I really didn't think about up until now, but
sorry, the Unity 8
desktop. Yeah, so if you use Unity 8 system in the future on your desktop, if you're going to also receive updates bundled like the OTA or backported features.
I don't know what the release strategy will be for Unity 8. I would like to hope it's going to be based on Snappy, So applications can be updated, and we would update like core components like Unity, Mir, and so we would own those, and your applications that sit on top, third-party developers own those. So I keep joking whenever people talk about future releases. I joke on these Q&As about it being a rolling release. When we get towards like having snappy updates on our desktop system, we're getting closer and closer towards that, semi-rolling release where you install it once and then you just get updates all the time. And I think we're getting closer to that. I don't know what the plan is for Unity 8 desktop, but that seems reasonable to me.
Yeah, let's see what it's going to be like. In any case, the desktop as we have it today, it's going to continue to exist. So for all of those of you out there who are, I don't know, a bit afraid of click and snap packages, the deb world is going to stay. But
yeah,
there's going to be something like Unity 8 desktop with OTA stuff. I don't know, but why not? I mean, we're going to live in a converged world, so I don't see why it shouldn't happen like that.
But some people might not want to live in a converged world, or might have a laptop that, like my ThinkPad, when it comes to, I'm running, well, actually, I'm running 1604 now, so I don't have to do the upgrade. I'll just keep going until it gets to April, and then, yay, I'm on the LTS.
Yeah.
But people who are on the previous LTS, like 1404, a short while after 1604 comes out, they'll get a notification that says, hey, 1604 is out. Do you want to upgrade? And they can go whoop, from 1404 to 1604, and they'll get a, faster, more stable, more bug fixes, like Unity 7 based Debian desktop that's very similar to what they've got on 1404, but with newer stuff and, like I say, bug fixes and performance improvements. But it won't be like, oh my God, I've got to relearn everything, because it's the same thing. So we're going to have two tracks, basically. There'll be the snappy track, and then the expert or engineer or traditional or whatever you want to call it, Debian desktop. Okay, next question is from Coolcat, who asks, why is SDL2 not installed and supported by default? I guess this is on the phone.
Mm-hmm.
He says, I have a really hard time with simple things like making the app full screen or loading an image.
First of all, I think it would be great if all the blockers you run into are stuff that is too hard, if you mention this on the mailing list or elsewhere. I think it's great if you have that kind of feedback. Said, I looked at everything and it's hard to use, or it could be easier. Bring it up.
Yep. For this specific example, though, of SDL2, I think the reason it's not on the image is two reasons. One is we try and keep the base image as lean as possible. And while SDL2 is used by a lot of things, there are a lot of things that don't use it. And so it will be an overhead on the device that we might not want. And it's actually not that hard to bundle a bunch of libraries into a click package that you deploy. And you may have a version of SDL2 that works for your app, and someone else has a different custom version of SDL2 that they need for their app. And so you can both have different copies of SDL2 in your click package to service that requirement. And I appreciate that might be frustrating, but it's the same answer that we give when someone says, can I have, Perl version whatever, or Python version whatever, or, any other framework or toolkit or library, you bundle it in with a click. That's the way we do it. For SDL2, though, I would say you have answered your own question. It doesn't work properly yet on Mir on Ubuntu phone. And Brendan Schaefer, who has done a lot of work to make SDL2 work on Mir, still has some patches to land both upstream in SDL and some things in Mir in order to make it more robust. So actually, when we go back to that question that was, what are you looking forward to in OTA 9? One of the things I'm looking forward to is Mir supporting SDL2 better, so that people like you can put your games on Ubuntu phone and they work. I hope that answers your question.
Cool.
But
yes,
I appreciate you have a hard time. it's frustrating. I have the same pain. I've been trying to port some SDL2 things to Ubuntu phone as well. So I know I feel your pain. What's next?
Chloe Wolfinger asked, what plans are there to make scopes more useful and engaging? And I think we answered that earlier. On the one hand, the design team, they're cooking up plans, so that's in progress, and you can already start writing them with JavaScript, which should be easier, faster.
And make more useful ones. Yeah.
So next one. Rich Wing asked, I've been waiting over a month for Ubuntu community funding. What's taking so long? This shouldn't be the case. Maybe you can just ping Poppy or myself afterwards, or Hall, Mike Hall on IRC, and just give us the details. It shouldn't take that long. Next question is from Coolcat. Have you heard the news about Yola going to the Death Valley? What can Ubuntu do to not meet Yola in the valley?
So this is an interesting blog post from the guy who runs Yola. And I think one of the important things that he's trying to highlight in the post was the fact that this is their third time heading for Death Valley, and they got out of it the last 2 times. And they're, I think, probably cautiously optimistic that they can get out of it again. And I hope they do, because I think the world is better for a richer ecosystem of mobile platforms that isn't just Google and Apple.
Yeah.
So I wish them luck. I do hope they get their funding for the end of the year, especially as, you know, Yola and Ubuntu Phone share some technologies. So the more mobile devices that are using those technologies, like QML, Qt, like Hybris, for example, you know, those kind of technologies need to continue to be developed. And it's only when there's multiple players in the game, I think, that can keep driving that forward. The follow-up part to that, what can Ubuntu do to not meet Yola in the valley? Yeah, probably ask Mark that.
I mean, one thing should be pretty obvious already. Ubuntu's success is not just measured by the number of phones which go out. Ubuntu is super successful in the cloud world. There's still millions of PCs shipped with Ubuntu. Lots of companies base their business on Ubuntu, so it's not just the Ubuntu phone which has to be successful. But obviously, we all want conversions to happen. Like, we want the phone to be successful as well. But yeah, Ubuntu's success is quite spread across various places.
Right. Next question. Dragonbite says, is the move from Unity 7 to Unity 8 going to be smoother than KDE 3 to 4 or Plasma 5 or GNOME 2 to 3 or Windows 7 to Windows 8 migration headaches, or are they doomed to repeat history with wails of pain and anguish? You paint a pretty picture there.
Somebody mentioned the Lord of the Dragons as well.
I don't know. I like to hope that we'll do it better, and I know you know, that we can look back at what we did with migration to Unity, like from GNOME 2 to Unity, and learn a lot from that. And I think we have learned a lot from that. And I know Mark has said multiple times on public Q&As that we're not going to shift to Unity 8 until it's ready, until, you know, the community says it's like the right time to do it. And I would like to hope that we have a migration path that's robust for people who are going from one to the other. Okay, what's next?
Cat asked, on Android, you can now sell apps as low as 22 cents, depending on the country. Are there any plans to implement virtual currencies so we developers can sell an app at whatever price? Users will still have to pay a minimum sum, but they can pay whatever the app costs. Yeah, this is...
Yeah. Go on then.
Yeah, it's a question which has been brought up a number of times, and the last I heard was that we're asking for the minimum sum where all the transaction fees and that kind of stuff still make it work for us.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the reason why.
If we dropped right now with the user base that we have, some thousands and thousands of Ubuntu phones with hundreds of apps in the store and tens of paid apps in the store, it doesn't become financially viable for us to drop the price, the minimum like payment price for apps, because the transaction fees would just eat any profit made on those sales. Once there's a significant volume of phones out there, a significant volume of apps in the store, it starts to become more viable. And I think this is constantly being evaluated. One thing that's been introduced really recently is in-app payments. So with in-app payments, you could, for example, provide a version of your app which is completely free, but then have an in-app purchase to upgrade to more levels in a game, or the paid version of your app which takes away nag screens, or gives you more space or more time or whatever might be done. But right now the minimum price is not coming down in the short term, as I understand it.
Right. Cool Cat asks, any news on BQ's Russian launch? Does Putin love the BQ Ubuntu phone?
I think Putin's a bit busy right now. I don't think he's returned our calls right yet. But that's not to say anything about our phone not being able to accept calls. Ridgewing asks, who has Star Wars tickets? No, I should have bought some for. It's in a few weeks, isn't it? Nakanut, is it Nakanut? Asks, is Bluetooth FTP and plugins for File Manager Gallery being actively worked on for Ubuntu Touch? That's a good question. No, we have just migrated to Blues 5, so there has been a big change in the Bluetooth stack just over the last few weeks. That's an interesting question. I don't think I've used Bluetooth file transfer for about 10 years. So it's interesting. I don't know, how often that's used. We recently implemented Samba support in the file manager. I would imagine we'd implement things like NFS and stuff like that. And, other really popular things. I think we'd have to make a really good use case for doing file transfer via Bluetooth and things like that. I don't know how reliable they are. I like I say, I haven't used it for 10 years, so I just don't know. Is the answer.
I mean, if you have access to Wi-Fi, you can use Stuart's app.
Yeah, there's the Wi-Fi transfer app. Or you can use SCP. You can SCP files. I SCP files to and from my phone all the time using an SSH key. I find that super useful. But then, I'm a nerd. So, yeah. Next question. Dragonbite. Is Unity 8 going to be better for gaming or the same as Unity 7? I don't know.
It's going to be interesting. I mean, Unity 8 is going to run with Mir, and I don't know of any benchmarks seriously comparing games to each other. I don't know.
I'd imagine Phoronix will be all over that. Come April next year.
Yeah.
So I think Michael Larabelle will sort that out. We'll answer that question. Chloe asks, have any of you got a Steam machine, and what do you think of it, and how it'll affect gaming on Ubuntu and Ubuntu adoption? I don't have a Steam machine. I do use Steam though. I think the whole idea of running games on Linux, more games being available for Linux, will be pushed once there are more Steam machines on the market, and they're available all over the place, rather than just in a couple of markets. Not sure that will affect Ubuntu adoption, but it will certainly make it more attractive to switch on the desktop from Windows to Ubuntu if there are more games available, I think.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, we're
Out of
just
time.
about out of time. Are there any super interesting questions we can pick out? I can't see anything that's not something we've answered already. I could burn through 3 of them really, really quickly. When can we have physical Ubuntu stores? Don't know. Any plans for Ubuntu Edge 2.0? No. Any way to get more apps on Ubuntu phones? Plans to make deals with companies such as Facebook or games? Yes. We are talking to commercial partners all the time about porting their games across to Ubuntu. Their apps and games to Ubuntu. Watch this space. Cool.
Yep.
Wow. So many questions. Thank you, everyone. Sorry we didn't get to all of them. Come back next week and maybe ask, I don't know, Daniel or whoever's going to be here next week. No, David or Nick or Mike, probably.
Yeah, thanks a lot, everyone, for your questions.
Yeah, thank you. We'll be back next week, or someone else will in this seat, or one like it, at 1600 UTC on Tuesday. Remember, you can always see previous videos on our YouTube channel, Ubuntu On Air on YouTube. Hit the subscribe button and you'll find out when the next show is. Also, if you go to ubuntuonair.com and you'll get a thing on there that will tell you when the next show is and the little chat box down the bottom. Anything else?
No, I think that's it.
Thank you for watching. Thank you for your questions. Have a good week and happy Thanksgiving to all those who celebrate it. Bye-bye.
Bye.